Continuing on with adding these laser mortise and tenon joints, we'll take a look at the bottom panel. So to access the original sketch, we'll go to the bottom sketch. And I'm going to add in some tabs along the perimeter. I'm going to add in some tabs for the internal partitions and for the center partition. I'll start the perimeter tabs with using the line tool, L on the keyboard. And I'm going to draw an L in this corner. I'll continue on with the line tool. Rectangle here. I'm going to give myself some construction lines from the center point. Line tool. And instead of going to here and clicking constraint, I can select X on the keyboard, and it does the same function. It makes that line, turns that line into a construction line. So to both of those into construction lines. Then I'll come in here and start dimensioning these. So we'll give it a dimension of the thickness of the material, T. And we'll use the equal constraint to make all of these material thickness areas equal value. And dimension tool, we can give this a value of 1.5 inches. And I think these can be equal as well. This is all personal preference. And we can give this dimension as well, 2 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and just give a dimension there, and I'll keep that at 3. Now what we can do is highlight those new sketch elements, bring down the sketch palette, and select the mirror tool. And we want to select the line, so we'll select this midpoint line. Mirror the sketch elements. We'll do the same thing. I'm going to deselect this line by hitting Shift in the line. Go back to the mirror tool, and we'll select this center line. So now we have this element here that will create these tabs for us. I also want to have some tabs in the center and for our center partitions. So I'm going to go back and unhide our original sketches. And as a reference point, I'm going to extrapolate this to use it as a reference point. If I select that point and P on the keyboard, it allows me to extract that point and drop it into our sketch. Now that I'm done with those, hide them again, and I'll go in and put a reference line from our new reference point, and X on the keyboard to make it reference. I'll do R for rectangle tool. Go ahead and use our equal constraint. We want that to be the thickness of the material. Give it a dimension. And I think 1.25 inches looks pretty good. And we'll dimension it from the center. And thinking 3/4 from the center. And we'll also give it a location tab in the center here, so we'll use the rectangle tool. I'll select the center rectangle. If you notice, I can snap to this line, which may not be ideal. If you have a lot of lines in place, to avoid snapping, you held Control, it will no longer snap to any lines. So again, I want this to be the thickness of the material, so I'll make it equal to the original dimensioned line. And I need to zoom in to select it. Select too many lines, I'll just do it again. Zoom in, select that line. Now it's equal. And all I need to do is add a dimension, a length dimension. I'll make this one 3 inches. Zoom out a bit. So I still need to mirror this around, so I'm going to mirror it to the 4 corners. Drag and drop. Go to Mirror Tool. Select the mirror line. OK. Drag a window around. Again, select the Mirror Tool. Select my sketch element to mirror about. OK. So that concludes our tabs for the bottom. Now we'll go ahead and go in and modify. We'll stop sketch. And we're going to modify the extrude that created the bottom. There we go. So when we select the face again, it tells us that this was the extrude that created this bottom. And I want to bring the bottom up. Instead of resting directly on the bottom, I want it to be roughly the value of T up, the value of the thickness. So I want to have the thickness of the material underneath it, essentially. So what I'll do on my offset distance, I'll give this a value of T. It's going to lift up that bottom. And now I need to go in and I need to deselect these portions of our sketch that we just created. And to see it, I think it works best if I can turn the bodies off. And I will zoom to the top here if I can. As it highlights, I should select and deselect. I notice it's running a little bit slow this morning. I can deselect all and just select the interior portion. We'll see if it updated. It seems to have updated pretty nicely. We still have this portion here to clean up. But overall, it seems to have lined up around the perimeter. So I'm going to save. And in the next video, we'll show you how to clean up the excess material on the bottom.